Let's begin with a basic explanation of the class trial. So, your votes will determine the results. If you can figure out who done it, then only they will receive punishment. But if you pick the wrong one, then I'll punish everyone besides the blackened, and the one that deceived everyone else will graduate. Okay, well, I'll leave the rest up to you.
Well then, let's discuss the specifics of the victim. First, we need to clarify who exactly the—
It's Kyoko! There's no other explanation.
But Kyoko's standing right there.
No! That's a ghost!
But she has legs and stuff.
Well, that's just because she's like the latest evolution in ghost technology!
There's a limit to how much ridiculousness I can tolerate.
Okay. So I just have to prove that the corpse isn't Kyoko, right? Then let's compare Kyoko's traits.
Her trait?
I got it! I'm talking about her gloves. They'll give us some insight into them.
In that case, I think it would be helpful if—
And would you happen to know the—
In fact, Monokuma told me.
Oh! You know—
They probably just got burnt up in the— I'm not convinced! That Kyoko there is just a ghost!
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it! Prove she's not a ghost!
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion!
Then she was wearing gloves.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves. Cause that corpse is absolutely Kyoko!
This entire discussion is idiotic.
That Kyoko there is just a—
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it!
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the—
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves. Cause that corpse is absolutely Kyoko!
This entire discussion is idiotic.
That Kyoko—
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it!
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion!
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves.
No, that's wrong! No. There's no way the corpse was— Whoever it was, they were wearing fake nails, remember? I imagine trying to wear gloves over nails like— Besides, Kyoko wears gloves to hide her hands, right? It'd be pretty weird for someone who's
Jeez, man, you don't know women, huh? They're complicated like that.
If anyone doesn't know women, it's you.
Well, Kyoko, any thoughts?
These gloves were custom made to the size of my hands to make sure they don't interfere with my daily life. If I wore fake nails, the gloves wouldn't fit properly.
Then that's that. The dead body doesn't belong to Kyoko.
Which should have been obvious since she's standing right here.
Okay, so then, who's—
That's the first thing I said. You—
Kyoko really is still alive. Then who died?
There's gotta be some way to figure it out. I don't think so. The face was scorched beyond recognition. And there wasn't any description in the Monokuma file. Well, if we can't identify the body...
Then there's nothing else we can do, right? If Kyoko really is still alive,
then who died? There's gotta be some... I don't think so. The face was scorched beyond... And there wasn't any description. Well, if we can't identify the body...
then there's nothing else we can do, right?
If Kyoko really—
Then who died? There's gotta be some... I don't think so. The face was scorched and there wasn't any description. Well, if we can't identify the body...
Milk and swamp. There was one clue left behind that we can use to identify the body.
What? For real? If you're lying, you'll die a cruel and unusual death.
Cruel and unusual death? This I gotta see.
She's just being stupid. Ignore them, Makoto. Tell us what you're talking about.
The key to figuring out who it was is the tattoo on the back of her hand.
Oh, yeah. The design's pretty strange, huh? Is this a dog? Her master must have made her get it. To be like, you're my bitch.
Seriously? They really did something that humiliating?
No, that's not it. The identity of the victim is hidden within that tattoo.
Oh, really?
I got it! The Fenrir Mercenary Corps. That's the name of the military group Mukuro Ikusaba belonged to.
Okay, so...
To show that they're a member of the team, each soldier that joins the squad would get a tattoo representing Fenrir somewhere on their body.
Fenrir?
Now I understand. The representation of Fenrir is a wolf.
Fenrir, the Wolf of Ragnarok. It's from Norse mythology. A huge, world-ending wolf beast. He's the child of the trickster god Loki, and a female giant.
Man, after all this time, we finally got a grip.
A wolf tattoo. Then that means...
Exactly. The body, which means that person must have once belonged to Fenrir. So it must have been Mukuro.
What?
Hold on. Isn't she the one that was behind this whole thing?
You sound surprised, but you're absolutely right. Yes, indeed. The trial this time is to solve the murder of Mukuro Ikusaba.
Are you saying the mastermind is dead? And now we have to have a clue last...
No. It means we were wrong in thinking that Mukuro was the mastermind at all.
But I mean, being the ultimate despair seems...
Maybe we shouldn't have been thinking of her as the ultimate After all, looking at her profile, I didn't see anything that would fit such a description. All it said was that she was the ultimate soldier. If I remember correctly, that other information came from... Kyoko. That's what you told Makoto, right?
So that means Kyoko got it wrong?
Who was she? Who was Mukuro Ikusaba? She's been gone this whole time? And when she finally turns up, she gets killed. Usually when there's a scene where an important character dies, it has a lot more detail.
So you're saying she wasn't an important character? Which would mean she was the same as us.
Then who's the real...
It must have been the Hope's Peak Academy headmaster after all.
No, the headmaster has nothing to do with it.
But how can we trust that? We already know your information about Mukuro was wrong.
My information was not wrong.
Okay. We're in the middle of a trial right now. Please limit all future prattle, chatter, and chit-chat as much as possible.
Fine. Uncovering the identity of the mastermind will have to wait. But remember this, no matter what happens, we will find out who you really are. I stake my family name on it.
I have officially decided to completely ignore all such attempts at provocation. Now then, just so nobody's confused, let me state this one more time for the record. The reason we're having a class trial is because a murder among the students has taken place. Hammer that point straight into your big ol' brain!
What you're saying is that both the victim and the culprit are part of the student body?
Then, one of us killed Mukuro?
Wait, no! There's a chance that there's some mystery.
Nope! There are only 16.
Seriously? Then one of us killed Mukuro?
Who did it?
Get a hold of yourself. We've all... I'm sure you realize who I'm talking about, right, Makoto? Who the evidence points to?
I got it! You've narrowed it down to Kyoko and me, right?
Why do you say that?
Allow me to explain. Just after nighttime last night, I went to the garden, so I can confirm that at that point, there was no dead body there. So, the murder must have taken place. However, Hiro, Toko, Hina, and I were in the gym the entire time.
The gym?
That's right. The four of us were there trying to dismantle Monokuma. The whole time, we were very careful not to go anywhere alone. We even went to the bathroom in pairs. All of which is to say, the four of us all have alibis. The only ones without alibis
Are me and Makoto. That's why you're able to...
exactly so.
I have something I'd like to say regarding the whole alibi thing.
Are you thinking of raising it?
Well, before that, I just want to try and get a better idea of what time the murder took place. Doing that might reveal some kind of clue.
Whatever you want. Somebody go ahead and help him out.
Me and Byakuya can both confirm that it was after night, so the murder must have happened after 10 p.m.
Then I guess we can say the time frame for the murder was between then. Oh, but what?
The one who saw the body first was Toko, right?
I got it! The body must have been discovered at 9 a.m., since that's when Toko went to get the pickaxe.
He's right. It had to.
So we can be totally sure the murder happened.
For me, I was already asleep before nighttime hit. But I'm sure I met up with everyone else before, not...
We ran into each other in the dining hall, right? Oh yeah! Right around 7:30.
Which means from 10 p.m. to 7:30 a.m., you don't have an alibi.
We've established a time frame for the murder. It took place somewhere between 10 o'clock at night and 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep, and Makoto doesn't have an alibi for most of that time.
Yeah, from 10 o'clock to 7:30.
That's more than enough time to commit murder, I should think. So Makoto, if you have any objections, now would be the time. We've established a time frame that it took place somewhere between 10 o'clock and 9 o'clock in the... Yep.
And Makoto doesn't have...
Yeah, from 10 o'clock to 7:30.
Shoot!
We've established a time frame for the murder. It took place somewhere between 10...
No, it's wrong! Actually, the murder couldn't have happened anywhere near 10 o'clock. It had to have taken place way later.
And what makes you say that?
Because of the sprinklers in the garden. The sprinklers are set to go off right at 7:30 every morning, right? So if the body had been in the... then it should have been completely soaked.
Oh, hold on! I remember this part perfect. The body was wet.
Sorry, Toko.
I'm wrong? Are you saying only the mouth down south was wet? How did...
No, I'm saying that the body was wet.
What do you mean by denying the sprinkler? Are you trying to deny my entire existence?
Man,
If you really think it wasn't the sprinkler, you'd better tell us why! I admit nothing. No, no, no! admit nothing. No, no, no! Enough! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. I'm right about this. I admit nothing. No, no, no! That's enough! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. No, no, no! That's enough! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. I'm right about this. How can you say it wasn't the sprinkler? I admit nothing. No, no, no! That's enough! How can you say it wasn't the
This should prove it. Just remember what the body was like after the explosion. The top half of the body was wet, yes, but the bottom half was completely dry. If the sprinklers got the body wet, shouldn't the whole body have been wet?
So they only got the top wet? I'm so sick of her.
Let's just move on. The reason only the top half was wet was while the body was still on fire, I doused it with water. But only the part on fire, the top half.
Oh, then I...
So if the sprinklers didn't get the sometime after this,
Which means she must have been killed.
But Makoto's alibi was only missing for...
So there's no way Makoto could have done it.
In which case, the only one left without an alibi is Kyoko.
I'd just like to say if you vote for me and I die here, the mystery of this school will stay hidden forever, which is why I can't let that happen.
So are you saying...
Of course I'm not. I have no reason to kill anyone. This is a trap the mastermind has laid for us.
A trap?
We're this far into the game, and now... Stop wasting time! Stop wasting...
Shut up, you!
You got it, boss!
Anyway, Kyoko, you actually did have a reason to kill her.
huh?
She thought Mukuro was the ultimate despair. In other words, so she killed her to try and put a stop to all this. Isn't that right, Kyoko? But you made one catastrophic mistake. Mukuro wasn't the mastermind, and as a result, we were forced into another trial. Something I'm sure...
So, that?
If she had a motive and no alibi.
I'm not the only one without an alibi. Makoto's explanation is still insufficient.
Huh?
The sprinklers didn't get the body wet, but that doesn't mean the murder happened when he said it did. Because you see,
Interesting.
all it would take is covering the body.
I got it! You're talking about the tarp, aren't you?
You catch on quick. You're right. All you'd have to do is cover the body with the tarp, and that'd take care of the water. In fact, that's exactly what the killer did. The dirt pattern on the tarp can attest to that. Only one side of the tarp got dirty, because that's the side that faced down over the body, meanwhile, kept perfectly clean. This proves that the killer used the tarp to keep the body from getting soaked.
But why would they go to all that effort?
Most likely so they could cloud the issue of when the murder actually took place. In other words, to create a...
Wait.
And what might that... By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty!
Shoot!
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side... Shoot!
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty!
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless.
It's because that side was protected from the water. Shoot!
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty!
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting...
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty!
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on one side is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the... Since it was facing down toward the body, of course it didn't get dirty!
No, that's wrong! Actually, one side being clean is pretty strange. Because the blood wasn't dry before the body got blown up, right? Byakuya said it himself. Not to touch it, or you might get some. If you put a tarp on a body in that state,
Well, maybe the culprit...
If they had, they would have washed...
Oh!
More than that, what if the very blood we saw... What if, after they then covered the body in blood that didn't belong to...
You mean...
I know! They could have grabbed some of the blood packs from the nurse's office. That's what Hifumi did, right? When he...
No, that's the killer got the blood from right...
I got it! Could it have been chicken blood?
What? Chicken blood?
When I checked the chicken coop before the murder, there were 5 chickens. But after the murder, there were...
So, you're saying someone killed a chicken? Man!
killing a living thing just to do something like...
I wonder if the killer had to get the blood from the scene so they wouldn't be spotted walking around. Anyway, there's no denying that a chicken went missing, which provides a basis for my theory.
Perhaps, but even so, there's one thing that still doesn't make sense. You said the culprit used the tarp to avoid the water and then covered, but if that's the case, then the blood should have soaked into the ground around the body. But that's not what we saw. Only the ground was complete.
I have to agree that maybe they didn't apply the blood at the scene. Maybe
They covered it.
when you discovered the body, was it...
Wait. No. The head was through the neck hole, but the arms weren't in the sleeves.
Then that settles it.
Sorry, I'm having a tough...
Here's what happened. The murder took place before the sprinklers went off, but the body didn't get wet. Then, later, they pulled the coat over the body. The coat they'd already covered in blood. This series of cover-ups was meant to disguise the actual time the murder occurred. They wanted us to think the murder happened sometime after the sprinklers...
If that's actually what took place, it's certain.
But wouldn't they have had to go back to the garden?
That actually wouldn't have been... Huh? They already had the coat ready, so they just had to grab the tarp. They'd be done in no time.
Maybe.
Hina, after you met up with Makoto in the dining hall, did you two stay together from that point?
Oh, no. I headed off to the gym, and Makoto didn't show up till later.
Then he had plenty of time to spare. Would...
That's not...
Don't bother saying it's not possible.
I must admit, Kyoko's reasoning is sound. Makoto's alibi is inadequate. Well then, it looks like we're back to square one. Makoto's alibi is no good, so once again, our suspects are him and...
For serious, man? Hey, why don't we let luck decide?
Oh!
See? Pretty...
No, not that!
Well, don't just stand there. Out with it.
You know that knife we found all black?
The one we found stuck in the... According to the Monaco... So?
I'm pretty sure I'd see... That's what I thought when I first...
The knife?
You don't seem surprised. You must have noticed earlier. Then why did you hide?
It's not that I hid it.
Suspicious! The knife we found stuck in the body came... Now I'm totally convinced he did it! Well...
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, then... That seals it! Makoto did it!
Just because I had the knife once, that automatically makes me the killer?
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right? So there's no question. You took that knife of yours and killed her with it.
What a horrible man you are, Makoto.
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, that seals it! Makoto did it!
Just because I had the knife once, that automatically makes me the killer?
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right? So there's no question. You took that knife of yours and killed her with it.
What a horrible man you are, Makoto.
The knife we found,
It's the same one we gave to
it really is, isn't it?
If he did have that knife before, that seals it. Makoto did it.
Just because I had the knife once, that automatically makes...
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right?
Shoot! I refuse to give up yet!
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, then that seals it. Makoto did it.
Just because I had the knife once, that automatically makes me the killer?
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her, right?
No, it's wrong! Wait, hold on. The stab wound isn't what killed Mukuro. That should be clear from the description of the cover-up we just heard.
Lies! We never talked about what...
No! The killer covered the dead body with it. In other words, the victim never wore that bloodstained coat.
Okay, fine.
So... the knife had been thrust through the coat, along with the body. Meaning, if she wasn't stabbed until the coat was put on, and she was already dead at that, obviously the stab wound isn't what killed her.
Maybe you stabbed her twice. Once to kill her and once to cover it up.
I got it! The Monokuma file clearly states that...
Oh yeah, it sure did. Totally forgot about it.
Then the knife...
was just another piece of camouflage set up by the... They probably stabbed her to draw attention away from what actually killed her. Exploding the body afterward was probably meant to do this. The explosion severely damaged the body, making it was all the killer's attempt to destroy all evidence.
So they wanted us to notice the stab wound and then detonated the body afterward. They meant for us to latch onto the knife as the cause of death, then destroy any evidence proving otherwise.
Oh, hey, I have a question. It kind of goes back to the beginning, but what's the deal with that explosion anyway?
If you bothered to put that lump of gray matter between your ears to use, you'd know the answer.
Well, if you're so smart, just tell me.
I'll tell you. I bet some unknown quantum particle...
I might be dumb, but even I...
Go ahead, Makoto. Tell her or we won't make any...
I got it! After the explosion, we found that fragment reveals the cause of the explosion.
Huh?
That's only natural. We saw the same thing when we dismantled Monokuma. It's part of a bomb.
Oh! Then the...
Anyway, the culprit's motive is becoming more and more obvious. They wanted the knife wound to look like, and the only one who is the only other
Hold on a second, Byakuya.
What's the problem?
Well, I just feel like...
That's true!
Fine. I have no problem. It won't change the facts of the case regardless. Then, shall we continue the debate? The victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined, correct?
The explosion didn't kill her for sure. I guess.
Well, yeah. She was already totally dead when that happened.
And it wasn't you because of the knife, right? And then there's only one other thing.
Oh, yeah. According to... That's gotta be it! There was evidence that showed she was hit on the back of her head.
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire body. Then, shall we continue the debate? The victim's fatal injury has yet to be determined, correct?
No, it's wrong! Mukuro died because of the
What about the wounds all over the rest of...
The Monokuma file makes it clear that those...
Oh yeah, good point. If they were all...
Okay, then we're safe in assuming the blow to the back of her head.
The Monokuma file says she was hit with a...
Oh! I bet it was the pick...
How is that even possible? If you hit someone with that...
Well, maybe they held it the other...
No way! The balance would be... I wouldn't mind testing it on you.
No thanks. I bet you just hit me with the metal end and call it an accident.
I'd love to scoop out that nasty brain.
I feel the same way! Looks like we're on the same page this time.
Seriously?
We want to figure out what killed her.
We already know? I knew we...
So what was it?
Go ahead and tell them, Makoto. Surely you've deduced the real...
I got it! Mukuro was hit in the back of the head with something. And that something was the titanium arrow we found in the locker in the...
Arrow? That's what the culprit attacked Mukuro with?
Indeed. There's no doubt about it.
Are you sure? That sounds... kind of weird. Hey! How dare you! I'm not back-talking anything. I'm just saying what I think.
The titanium arrow. It was in the dojo locker, right? I have no doubt that was the murder weapon.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced. What's the problem?
Well, because in the Monokuma file, it said the weapon must have been about as thick as a metal pipe, right? It seems like an arrow would just be too...
No, it's wrong! You're right. Just the one arrow would have...
Another weapon?
Inside the dojo locker, we also found a balled-up wad of duct tape. The killer probably uses... Bundling them together using the duct tape would easily create a single weapon as thick as a pipe. And that's exactly what the killer did.
It's similar to Aesop's fable. One stick is weak. We put them together, and they become strong.
Damn, that's hard.
How is it harsh?
Anyway, that explains the murder weapon. As for who the culprit, it was you.
I've never been to the dojo.
Oh no.
How can you say that with such...
Because we have proof, of course. Surely you don't intend. You know what will happen if you do. If you cover for the culprit, there's the death of us all.
Of course I...
Then show us.
I got it! The one thing that proves Kyoko was in the dojo is right here. The key to the dojo locker.
And how does that...
Because
It was...
Don't bother trying to play. That key is just the final. Your non-existent alibi. Your clear motive. Your attempts to frame Makoto for the crime. This all proves that you are the true culprit.
hold on a second.
Not this again.
No, there's one more thing I need. Kyoko. Last night. Why? What were you doing there? That's what I need.
I was just... protecting you.
What?
That's enough. The time for idle...
Wait, I'm warning you. Don't...
I knew you were stubborn, but this is...
Really? But you... Can you tell me I'm wrong?
Those words you... just spoke. What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. I'm not the killer. You should understand that more than anyone here.
Byakuya, what are you hiding?
Master would never hide something from me!
There's proof that you aren't the culprit. Is that what you're saying?
You stated a theory earlier. You said I hid the evidence of my crime in the dojo locker, and then left the locker key in my own room, correct? But could I really have done that?
Those words you just spoke. What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. I'm not the killer. You should understand that more than anyone here.
Byakuya, what are you hiding?
Master would never hide something from me!
There's proof that you aren't the culprit. Is that what you're saying?
You stated a theory earlier. You said I hid the evidence of my crime in the dojo locker, and then left the locker key in my own room, correct? But could I really have done that?
Those words you just...
Exactly. I'm not, but you should understand.
Byakuya,
Master would never...
there's proof that you... Is that what you're...
You stated you said I hid and then left
The locker key in my own room.
correct, but could I really have done that?
Those words you just...
Exactly. I'm not, but you should understand.
Byakuya,
Master would never...
there's proof...
That you aren't the...
No, it's wrong! If I'm right, because she had given her room...
I see. And if I had the key to your room,
Then obviously without my room key. Am I wrong? Then you're finally starting.
well, does no one have a Have you decided to accept her? I see. So I suppose we have to admit that Kyoko didn't put
I mean, Bianca...
But of course I have an alibi. From nighttime, I couldn't possibly have...
Well, someone had to put...
There's only one other... Someone could have had the key on them, then what? I don't see any other option.
Wait a second. Let's think about it one more time.
Huh?
First of all, there's some... Mukuro, who we didn't even know existed, suddenly shows up dead. And Kyoko even said, it's a trap the mastermind set for us.
Okay!
Huh?
Time's up! Class trial's all over! Everyone can stop talking now!
What? Time?
What do you mean time's up? There's no time's up.
It's because you were late! So then, it's time for voting time! Okay? Everyone...
Voting time?
Now, who will be chosen as the blackened? Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one?
Hey, hold on!
What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be?
Sorry.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Hey! Shing! Thrills, chill!
I don't expect you to forget.
Let's give it every...
This is...
It would seem...
What the heck?
In other words... Calm down. In other words...
What did you say?
So...